All right, friends, I'm back. It's just looking at that. It's it's really hot here, so I'm just wearing something really light, and it's evening, so it's kind of dark, but you can still see me, I think, and I have the candle on, so this ought to go just fine. So I've prepared a little talk because I wanted to talk about the energy of this moment and how potent it is. I wanted to just talk about the Schumann really quick and also the astrology. What I did was I put together a astrology article on it on that energy, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that out after this talk, and so that you'll be able to see the charts if you go to my Substack post, and I'll post that link as soon as I send it out. So I was working on it right up until presenting this to you guys. It's so nice to be back with you. Boy, um, I've been going through some challenges. Probably we all are, because the energies are like that. And I think that it's a potent time to come to some insights and realizations and then put those into practice, the next few months, actually, especially in the next 20 days, or maybe it's 17 days now, I don't really know, but through October 20th, this is a great time to, and I'm going to explain why. So on the Schumann resonance, I put out a post in my YouTube community and on Twitter, Telegram, and Truth Social, I believe. And what I did was I wrote a little summary about the energies from the full moon through October 13th. Because I think what happens is that around the moon events, the new moon and the full moon, I take the images that show on the Schumann resonance charts as indicative of the energies for the lunar month or for the 2 weeks of the full moon period. And I'm going to tell you, this has been really working well for me. I've been doing it for some time on my own, and sometimes I talk about it with you guys, and it works really well. And I've really been stunned. I can't remember if it's been 2.5 years or however long it's been that I've been comparing Schumann charts and astrology aspects or astronomy aspects, okay? And because the astronomy is the event, right? And the astrology is the interpretation of the energy. And it's really surprised me how there's a real sync, in my view, between the solar system events and, of course, the sun and the moon and Schumann energy. Now, of course, I interpret the Schumann as reflecting a map of human consciousness. Does it pick up other signals? Probably, yes. But on many, many of my videos going back years, I have taken this viewpoint and orientation, and I was one of the first, if not the first, to begin talking about it this way, going back to my articles in 2019 on it. So, and my writing in 2015, but that's not anywhere anymore. That's all been deleted, because that's how things go. Okay, so hi Bart, great. It's good that you're here, and the other people that are here too. Thanks for saying hi. And okay, so let's begin. So what's been going on the Schumann? It's really interesting because the Schumann is suspiciously quiet. And if you look at what's going on behind the image chart, there's some interesting data. So I just wanted to mention that. On the frequency charts, you may have noticed that green has gone all the way up to 27. I thought it was interesting and a big deal when it spiked to 26 and a half a day and a half ago, 26 and a half hertz. But now it's gone up to 27. Has it been at these levels before? Yes, we've seen it, but not for a long time. I think it's maybe even before the whole 2020 lockdown situation, that since we've seen this. So what does that mean? Well, the frequency bands of the Schumann resonance and on the space observing system charts, System Institute charts, they're marked by different colors, but they're in different frequency ranges. And in my view, these represent the different aspects of our human experience. So the white being kind of an expanded energy, feels divine. Alternatively, it can just highlight, this is what's important on the chart. Maybe things aren't that expanded in the moment, but the white comes in and says, hey, look at this. The yellow, in my view, reflects the astral or the non-physical energy closest to the human body outside of us, so the astral. But then also, in my view, that's where we have telepathy. That's where we have our dreams, our emotions, our thoughts. This is my anecdotal experience and my observations over a long period of time. But over time, observations become data, don't they? The red, in my view, represents our deepest, densest experience of our reality of our lives, of living. And this is where we can have deep anger, fear, where the shadow side of our personality is reflected, and where the forces of darkness, sometimes like we see the bigger picture of what might be going on there. And the green, in my view, is just overall the state of the human experience, the state of the human condition. And also, I think it reflects Earth, Mother Earth, right? Because you'll see on the image chart that there's almost always a green band around 8 hertz. And that's, roughly the natural frequency of the planet. And we are the planet, alive and in form with an expanded state of consciousness, aren't we? Right? It's so amazing. Like until you, it really struck me one day in my, when I was thinking about it. And when you think about, babies who've been breastfed, right? And their mothers that breastfeed the baby, like that's all the baby gets. And the baby, grows into a healthy baby. And what is going on there? Right? The mother is consuming the food of the planet, the plants, the animals, the water, and the baby is consuming that from the mother and growing into an independent being. And when you get that close to looking at experiencing the cycle of life, you realize how alive everything is and how we are a living part of the planet. We are the planet. And so when we talk about caring for the planet, we're really also talking about caring for ourselves. And I think as a society, we won't really get what taking care of the planet is about until we understand that every human is the living planet in form, right? Enlivened by the spark of divinity. I just have to laugh. Let's see. Okay, for some reason my internet is my internet just popped like half of you off. Okay. All right. I'm going to take a pause and we're going to do intention setting, okay? And this is part of my presentation, but I wasn't going to do it right now and I wasn't going to do it this way, but let's just do it. So suddenly half of the people just disappeared. So there was some technology error, right? Some kind of technology issue happened. So join me if you desire, join me in setting parameters here for this space. So I'm going to first declare a sacred space for this communication with you all. We'll go back to the Schumann in a minute, but because half the people just got booted off by the technology, I want to teach this in the moment and do it in the moment. So from the level of my soul, okay, and my soul and you all, your souls, we get to experience life in human form as our soul desires, right? As this is manifestation. So bear with me here for a moment, please, okay? Because I'm going to get off talking about the Schumann for a sec to deal with this issue. So I'm going to declare a space here of sacred communication where I get to express the creativity of my soul, and you as a living soul get to participate in the way you desire. You get to listen. You get to communicate on the comments. You get to do, that how you wish. And we get to do this. We have a divine right to express ourselves. And the technology is a tool. The technology is a part of our environment. It's a part of human creation, divinely inspired. And we can think of the technology as an elemental that is here to serve us, right? Because I am the master spirit here in my body, and you are the master spirit in your body. And when you speak and command from the level of your divinity, from God through you, from divine will through you, however you want to say that, then nothing can interfere with that, right? If my soul desires to express itself and I align with that, if I align with God's will for me, then I get to do that. And only my own soul, only divinity can make that happen or cease it. Nothing else has a right to that because I'm now operating at the level of divine law. And I declare that now. So the reason that I went through this is because at least half of the people that were on the live stream just disappeared all at once. And so now we'll from this new energy parameters, we're going to move forward. Okay, so I declare that. And then declare that for yourself if you choose to participate, right? I do this all the time with my girlfriends when we're chatting online. And the other thing that we'll do is we'll set an energy space of a certain dimensional state. Like, for example, right now, let's set the space at 5D plus. That's where I'm communicating from, right? From within myself, from within this human form. Okay, and the technology is a mechanism to carry the communication, and I bless it and I thank it, and I thank it's for its service. All right, the computers, the Wi-Fi, the AI, the silicon chips, and the reason that I just went through this intention setting, which if you got booted off, you can go back and listen to it because we've only been on for a few minutes here. But was because half the people got booted off all at once. So hopefully everybody who wants to be here is now here or returning, So, assert yourself, right? Assert your authority. And, right? Did you hear the dog bark in the background? So, divinity barks away any interference, right? Like the dog in the background barking. When you're operating from the level of your own authority as a living soul in human form, divine will prevails, and no interference can brook divine will through you. Once we start to understand this, our ability to create and manifest as living human beings will change significantly. And just change right now. How did it change? We're almost back up to the same number of people that were on before everybody got booted off. And number one. Number two, my stream never stopped. Okay. So I've been able to stay on with you guys. Why? Because from the level of my soul, I have a divine right to be here. And I've declared it in all my interactions with technology. You see, when I make an agreement with technology, and I encourage you to do this. I encourage you to do this. Okay. To make an agreement with your technology and all the technology sites that you have accounts at, that you interact with, I declare my agreement from the level of divine law. It supersedes human law and alien law. And I just use the word alien law because I just feel like there's something out there that I don't understand going on. I think we all know there's something going on. We don't really know what it is. And so I just call it alien law. Because it's unknown, right? It's unknown. Otherwise, why? Otherwise, things would be working, right? If what we think is really law was really working, then everything would be working. And it's clearly not. Okay, so when you operate and when you work with technology, consider making new agreements and then making the declaration that those agreements are across all technology and that they replace any previous agreements you've made. And when I make an account or when I input something on the computer, and you know how it says submit. Submit has multiple meanings, doesn't it? We all know the connotations of submit. So what I do is when I push that button, I write over it in energy and I write the word send because I'm communicating with the technology that we are equals and I'm equal with whatever is behind this agreement. And not only am I equal, but I'm communicating from the standpoint of divine law through me as a living human being. So give these things a try because the results are amazing. So what were the things we just discussed? I just want to review it because people are coming on. But number one is to declare a space electronically and set the parameters for it. And the parameters that I set are in alignment with divine law, which is in alignment with the highest good. And then, we talked around what that entails. So that's number one. Number two, we raised up the frequency of our communication to 5D plus. Okay. Now at 5D plus, there can't really be interference with that because I don't want to go into all the reasons why. At 5D plus, I'm operating in alignment with divine law in wholeness from the center of myself as a living human. And operating in wholeness is operating from non-duality. And it brings a whole different level of energy. Then what we do is we understand that the 5D communication is happening on top of the physical 3D technology and the non-physical 4D technology. 4D being the Wi-Fi, the internet stuff through the air, the transmissions and receptions. Number three was to make agreements or set parameters with technology that suit you. Okay, so if you're having a 1-minute delay, is that okay with you? Because you are divinity in form. You are the creative source. All right, so anyway, where were we? All right, so back to the Schumann resonance. So I was talking about the frequency bands in the Schumann resonance. I'm gonna kind of go back to the beginning. Right. Okay. Well, just go back and watch it, and everything will be cool. And I really appreciate your coming back on. Thanks for your persistence. So great. All right. All right. So on the Schumann resonance, I think what is going on is behind the scenes. The action right now is behind the scenes. Because think about it. Think how intense the energies are. Think about what you may be perceiving in your personal life, and yet the Schumann has got like nothing, right? It does have something happening though. I haven't noted this yet on any of my posts, and I haven't been posting as recently because I'm sort of coming back. But the technological effect has been in place now for days. I think it's over a week. It might be a week and a half. And whenever the technological effect turns back on, I always kind of look at that and think, what is really happening? Because to me, the technological effect is about monitoring. This is my theory, and I've talked about it in many other videos. So if you're new, I'm just giving the basic outline today. But I have a playlist called Technological Effect where every time I talk about it in any depth, I put that video in the playlist. So you can go back and see what's transpired. My most popular video in the Technological Effect playlist is the deep dive. And I talked about some really cool science stuff in there. So I love that video. That was really fun to make. So we're not getting images the past few days on the Schumann, and it feels really quiet. So what's happening is behind the scenes. So before we got interrupted with people dropping off, and then I went through the technology discussion and reset parameters as a response to that. Before that, I was talking about the frequency bands of the Schumann resonance. And I was on the last one, which is green. And green is, in my view, the embodiment of the living human. And what I was talking about is women and men having a baby and breastfeeding the baby. And when all of the nourishment comes from the mother through breastfeeding, you really see the cycle of life. And this is where the technology cut out somehow before. So now we're going to continue. Because what I was saying is that we're the living planet. And that's why green, in my view, represents both the human experience and our experience of, Earth, or the Earth experience. Okay. So what happened in the green resonance is that it has spiked really high in its frequency band. Now, it went to 26.5 a couple days ago, and I thought that was high. But today it went to 27.0 hertz. Or actually, is it today or is it, let me see. It's not on the, it's actually, it just happened in the last few hours from making this video. So what does that mean? So when the frequencies expand and the range expands, right? In my view, what this means is we are having an expanded experience of life in the area that frequency band, that range represents. So as human beings, we are, with the range expanding to 27, which we have seen before, okay, but before the lockdowns, okay, and I believe it's gone to 28, but it stopped rising for about 3.5 years, that high. I've talked about this on some of my 2020 videos, which you can find on Rumble from March and April of 2020. And I explained exactly what was going on the Schumann resonance related to the pandemic. It was fascinating. Let's just say that what happened with the green was that it looked like we made a group decision to keep our frequency from at 25.2 and lower. Because when we rose up above that during that 3-year period, 20, 21, and 22, we would be attacked. Okay. And it happened so many times in 2020 that we didn't even try in 2021 and 22 from my memory. Okay. Now, I don't have the database in front of me, but maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll get access. I don't. Would that be interesting? I don't know. I don't know if it would. It doesn't really matter because I remember in general. So, but like I was saying, we stayed below 25.2. Now, what has happened in the last few months is it's like we're getting our courage back. You know, the green qualities had been very depressed as well. And that, again, also started at the beginning of 2020. Every time in 2020, every time we went above 15 on the qualities, we would get attacked again. And I don't want to go into the details of that because you can go to Rumble and watch my 2020 videos if you want. But recently, we've been spiking to 31. And in the last few days, we've had multiple spikes to 30, 31. Today, just a few hours ago, probably, was it when let me just check. I'm just looking at the chart here. Yeah, it was just after the green frequency peaked at 27.0. Just after that, green quality spiked back up to 31. 31 was a typical high. If you look at the charts in 2018, you'll just see green quality 31, 31, 31, 31, 31. It could have happened like 10 times in a day. And it was like a heartbeat. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And we lost it. It's like we lost our confidence and it's been coming back. So anytime you see green quality spike over 15, to me, that's showing strength within the human soul, almost like within the human experience, because we're rising up above, 15 in quality, or we're rising up above 25.2. And it's important. And why is it important? Because it's the fall. And oh my God, I'm just thinking about this. See, September is always when the big negative plans are, put into humanity, right? Into communications towards society. And we're not letting ourselves get beat down by it anymore. We're coming back stronger. We're having inner resilience. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful, friends. Dang it, we are doing this. We are doing it. It's so exciting. And the amplitudes have been, not huge, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Like, see, amplitudes are power. That goes in waves, right? We can't be at 100% all the time. I have a few videos on this from recent videos where I talk about life as a sine wave. I think 2 or 3 videos back is one of them. And, sine waves are up and down like a bell curve, right? Life isn't at 100% in every moment. We need rest periods. We need variety. And so it's okay when the amplitudes drop, right? When they're low, because it gives us time to do something different. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you a story about this. Because I've been musing on a certain aspect in astrology. I spend like hours studying this stuff now. some days, okay? And what I'm studying is I'm studying the energy and how does it interrelate? Because when you talk about a point in astrology, like a cosmic body, it's just, to me, it's just representative of another frequency band, to give you, like, to compare it with the Schumann, right? Leo, all the 12 astrology signs, you could think of them as frequency bands within which humans are born, right? And then all the Leos have certain characteristics, but it's a range, right? So maybe let's use the green resonance as an example, because I love these concepts and I think that this is real, right? This is really, I'm onto something here. It's a discovery that I've made. So when you have Leo, let's say the energy of Leo, let's say Leo went up to 27, okay? And that was the high of the band, like it's the high of the green band. And the low of the green band is in the high 22s, right? That's as low as I remember it going in my memory of looking at data. Well, at 27, maybe the lion is roaring, right? And you have a person born in Leo who might be born under the sign of Leo, sun, who might be just, full of the embodiment of that lion energy. And then maybe in the high 22s, maybe that's the cowardly lion, like, on in the Wizard of Oz, like, who just needs to access his heart, you know? And then there's somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere in the middle of that has, so anyway, you can embody all along that. And maybe over your life, you move up and down in that frequency band. Okay, so that's the idea of being born under different signs. Well, the idea of having different planetary influences, right? Astronomy, different bodies are achieving different angles with each other all the time. And they're in key positions all the time, like Pluto being in the same position it was at the founding of the USA 200, almost 250 years ago now. And so that's real. And so we could look at Pluto as representing another set of frequency ranges. So do you see how we could take something like the Schumann resonance, we could make it about what is our experience of living as human, and take these different frequency sets and say, this is the totality of human life. Like, these are all the energies. Some of them influence us, some of them don't. Some of them are out of that range. Some of us have no planets in a certain sign. Some of us have a bunch of planets together, and on and on. So why am I talking about this? Because I'm trying to bring the Schumann resonance and the concept of what it is to life, so that it impacts you personally, so that you can look at it and say, wow, this means something to me, So, okay, so with the Schumann at peaking at 27 in green, if that truly is the human experience, then maybe some of us had peak experiences today, or peak insights, right? I'm kind of having one right now on this live stream with you guys. We're doing it together from my perspective. But, maybe some of you experience that. And alternatively, because we live in duality, alternatively, right? Although I'm speaking from a state of wholeness, but I want to share the fullness of the wholeness. Alternatively, we could be saying, gosh, I really want that peak experience. I really want that. How do I get that in my life? Like, the fact that that energy's out there reminds us that it's possible, right? I remember what that was like one time in my life. Excuse me, when I felt that, or, wow, I see this other person doing this. I want to do that too, right? I want that, what I see as a peak experience. So it can ping us to live the reality, or it can ping us to dream the reality into life, into physical existence. So give me a sec. I need to drink something. after my big health experience, and heat exposure experience, I now have like my court of, I'm not in a hot place right now, but what I realized was that I had poor habits related to hydration and taking care of myself, and I needed to do a better job. And that those poor habits helped lead to that experience. So, I guess it's good to learn that. Okay, so back to the Schumann resonance. So when the experience peaked, the quality peaked in the last few hours, and the amplitudes are low. And by low, they're in the single digits. Let me just check the chart. Yeah, they're in the single digits, and in some cases in the very low single digits, like 3 or 4. So what I'm saying is, then what is now compare this to your human experience in the last few hours, okay? And these energies are, even though they're on a graph that's time-based, they are not necessarily time-based. And I don't want to explain why that is right now, but it's because they're in a state of wholeness. But that could be a whole separate video. So you can, in other words, you could either perceive it ahead of time and experience it leading up to it, or you could perceive it after it occurs in time. So you haven't missed anything. But if you review your experience, okay, the last few hours, and just say, how was it for me? How was my energy? What was my lived experience? Okay, I've been talking about that for years. And 31 peak in the green qualities is hello, Rick. Thank you for saying hi. 31 in the green qualities would be, in my view, it would be like a strong connection with the truth of who you are. So qualities in layman's terms, right? What does it mean for our human experience? In my view, the higher that qualities go, the closer we embody our natural frequency, which I call the truth of who we are, which I also define as the living soul in human form, right? The soul that we are as living human beings, like one to one, we're one. So if we were able to embody that purely, we'd have a huge quality number. Okay, that's my theory on this. One day, I imagine that scientists will actually be able to calculate all this out and prove out what I'm saying. I'm that bold. I'm that bold. And we may even have the technology now more than we realize, because there's all sorts of private technology, but yeah, there is. That's awesome. Yeah, that's my goal for my life too, is to fully embody the truth of who I am. Wow. Okay, Carrie's saying, yeah, you can read her comment because it'll be on the live replay. But I hope I put it in the live replay. If I didn't, I'll make it. I'll make sure these comments show up. But yeah, I'm glad you started feeling better, right, in the last few hours. That's so cool. So with the qualities at 31, to me, what that says is we get in touch with the truth of our soul. And we don't need real world power to do that. What do I mean? It's like if you're sitting in your car, the car doesn't have to be on for you to have a good experience in your car, right? A lot of times I just sit in the car and read, or I sit in the car and I look at the sunset, right? Or I drive somewhere that has beautiful scenery. So what's going on outside of my car may seem very passive, or even the motor might be off. If the motor's off, maybe the motor of the car, anecdotally, not metaphorically speaking, right, would be at, I'm not sure if I'm using that word right, it would be like at zero amplitude. If the engine's off, it's at zero power. That'd be like zero amplitude in this example, right? But maybe I have a Ferrari, okay, and I can take it to the track and go like 150 miles an hour or higher. And then the amplitude is just way off the charts. And I'm having like this physical world experience that's very an external experience, right? With the road rushing at me and I have to pay attention. That's very engaging. Now, if I'm having a physical world experience like that with the amplitude spiking, then I'm really not thinking about the truth of who I am and my soul connection and all that stuff, right? In the moment now, it's instinct. It's right. And in the moment, all the work that I've done to embody the truth of who I am, to be who I am, my spiritual practices, your mental, emotional practices, your physical preparation. Now it's not autopilot. It's in the moment. I know there's a word for this. It's not coming to me. It's like I had someone I knew who had been in the military during the Vietnam War, and he was telling me about experiences that soldiers had, right, in war, and how everything is just super instinctual when there's action. But the other thing that he was saying, which was so fascinating, because this person was a practitioner who studied these things, and so we were kind of talking about it from that level. And what he was saying was that there's a spiritual, for a lot of men who experience that there is a real spiritual experience there, and that there's a knowing of things, right? That's impossible in the human world to have happen. That like you just know someone's around that corner or whatever it was. It's kind of like if you've ever, had an experience where you are, driving and you have to avoid an accident or get in an accident, or you want to have the best outcome when the choices are very limited, right? If you've done that work of connection, right? If you are aligning as well you can, um, this isn't so. Your outcomes would be better, but actually everything is always perfect, so your outcomes always are in perfection. That's the wholeness of it. There's never a good or bad. It's just everything's always perfect. So back to the Schumann resonance, right? So with the amplitudes low like this, we can more relax and feel that, the higher quality peaking, the truth of who I am. I feel the truth of who I am. Like, you know what? When that peaked, I bet that's when I decided to do a live, because I was thinking about it all day, but I made the commitment. I don't know if it was about 3 or 4 hours ago, and then I put a post out about it. So that for me is embodying the truth of who I am, right? Because I love doing this work. I love sharing with all of you. And this is the truth of who I am. And I don't need a lot of energy to do this. I don't need a lot of preparation. I don't have to like try hard to do this. And the reason why is because of all the hours and hours and hours that I've already put in, right? Like I could sit here and I could talk for 8 hours on these topics and I would still have more to say. And I know that might seem like, what? But that is the truth. That is the truth. That's how much I care about the concept of living the frequency of experiencing energy in human form, of pioneering doing this in real time, in life, in my life, of, every day, every moment it comes up, resetting, like, wait, if I changed how I describe my parameters for this experience slightly, how would it improve the experience, or how would it better fit who I truly am? Right. And you can do that too. We can all do that. And as we get that, oh my goodness, right? How cool is that? I could tell you guys stories that I've heard from friends who've been, that I've known, who have really, really gotten into places where they are living like a 5D experience in human form, interacting with the earth, interacting with others, where miraculous things happen. But it's just science, right? That we didn't understand until now. It's not that it's, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, I don't need to always present the contrast. And that's something I'm really working on, because I think that weakens us to always have to present the contrast. And I think it's a psychological trick that's been put into society, that we always have to say, when we're trying to assert a point, that we in Western civilization and Western culture in recent decades have been told that we always have to, make exceptions and, give credence to all of these exceptions. And I think it's weakened us greatly. And it weakens the clarity of our thought. And it destroys our culture over time. Anyway, that's another story. So I'm just going to say that with the qualities high, right, we get a ping. Okay, this is it. I got it. With the frequencies peaking to 27.0, which it has before, but in my view, really not since before the lockdowns. Okay. If it went into the high 25s and 26s in early 2020, we got, the human population had sort of a suppressor put onto it. So now we're in the fall, and if we look back 2 years, okay, in the fall of 2021, a fascinating thing happened. And you can find these videos in my fall of 2021 videos through January of 2022, because an amazing thing happened on the Schumann. And you know about this if you've been following me for a while. And Pluto was a big player at that time as well. But we didn't understand it very well, right? Yet, the way that we are now, where we're coming back stronger. And what happened was, in the fall of 2021, the red, I believe it was the red, was it the red qualities and frequencies? What happened was they narrowed to literally a 0.3 to 0.4 estimated hertz band. Okay. Now you're talking about the red. Okay. In frequencies, I've seen it expand to where there was 3 to 4 hertz, like represented in the frequency range on the chart at times. Okay. I've seen that on the chart because I went and counted it. And so for that to contract was because of all the intense pressure that came onto us in the fall of 2021. And you know what was happening at that time, right? What all the media was saying, what laws were mandated, or no, they weren't laws. What mandated were, what mandates were in effect. What am I doing? I wanted to look it up actually and see if I could find a chart. Just give me a second. I'm going to see if I can find a chart to just It was 2021. Let's say it was definitely in September 2021. So let's see. Oh, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull one of these up because I want to be able to, because this was so fascinating, and I think it's worth. I really want to like say it accurately what happened. Hold on one sec here. Okay, so what happened was it was so wild. Okay, the frequencies. I'm looking at the frequency chart right now from 3 days in September of 2021. The frequency band narrowed so tightly. Like, for example, on I'm looking at September 28th of 2021. The frequency band was that's 0.7, about 0.3 hertz. Okay. What? 0.3. That's tight, right? It's like we couldn't move, like we were hemmed in on all sides. Our options were being limited by the forces of darkness through apparent human form, right? Or something. Like, I don't know what was really going on, right? It seemed that way. But if that's on one side of polarity, then the forces of light were also operating and putting us in a narrow band for our highest good for some reason that we don't understand. And in the qualities, let's see here. Now, during that time, the red was periodically dipping down substantially. It would be very tight, then it would have a big dip, come up, and then be very tight. So I think it would happen like once every 3 days, or was it every 3 days? It was at least every 3 days. And then in the qualities, let me just see here. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm remembering. What was happening in the qualities was it was amazing. In the fall of 2021, the qualities in red were high. They were between like 20 and 22. I don't remember the exact numbers, and I'm not going to go research that because I'm on live, but it was in a narrow band and it was high. And then periodically it would dip down and then it would go up again. So it was in like this wave form over days, but it was very unusual for the red qualities to stay at such a high level for hours and hours, like 10, 12, whatever, a lot of hours at a time. And so, this is, like I said, I've determined what I feel the frequency bands represent through experience over years. Well, in my view, the red in 2021, you can see the way it tightened up, right? We were being super suppressed, super restricted in these very dense layers of reality, of human experience. And at that time, it was so tough. I'm sure it was super tough for you guys as well. I'm gonna look at your comments in a second, but that's when I lost my job. I mean, I was fighting for months and months to keep it. I was gingerly stepping this way and that to try and like walk the fine line of, well, anyway, I don't. Who needs to go back to that? But my videos are on that are on Rumble if you want to see them. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, that the Schumann resonance can give us information about our day-to-day personal experience. So on the chart, what I wanted to explain was that with frequency peaking in the last few hours and qualities peaking, and this is in the green resonance, with amplitudes low, what does it do? It allows us to kind of sit back and take it all in. And that's what I'm saying. Like, just even doing this live with all of you is doing that for me, And so thank you guys. Thanks for sharing this like wonderful moment. Because for me, this is really fun. I really have a lot of joy being here with you. And it doesn't take a lot of energy. Now, what is going to take a lot of energy and amplitude for me later is like cutting the video, editing the video, social, putting it on social media. Oh my God, that takes so much work. Making scripts, that takes a lot of work, but anyway, but I'm grateful to do that work, right? Why not? Might as well do something where it's in a field that you love. So thanks for Pluto, the cleanup crew. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. God, that's a great comment for what's going on right now. Oh, Kristen, I'm so glad that you're here. I mentioned it at the beginning of the live stream, but I have a Substack. It's almost done, and it's going to have all the astrology charts and information. The Schumann stuff we're talking about right now, I'm going to put that in a written post, and then I might clip the video. Cher, what a great name. I'm so glad that you're here as well. Thanks for commenting. That's awesome. Good for you, Bart. I reject the malevolent interference. Me too. Me too. Okay, so let's see. Do we talk about everything about the Schumann? I mentioned that the technological effect. I mentioned the green band at 8 hertz. I just want to look up the exact number for the natural frequency of Earth. It's 7.83. So that's why you see that band at about 8 hertz, right? Because 8 is the number marked on the chart. There's always a key, a note on the charts at 8 showing that is, 8 hertz, that's what that is. And that's why, right, the pulse of the Earth, the Schumann is the pulse of the Earth. That's where you see that on the image chart. Okay, so now I want to talk about the astrology. I want to talk about September 23rd and why nothing happened. I want to talk about October 4th and why was that date important. And then I want to share with you what Pluto is doing right now, because we have a window here. It's 20 days where the arrow of Pluto is completely pulled back. And I want to share with you about that energy, because you can, use an understanding of the energies to see how it is for you, compare the meaning for you, and make choices. I'm doing that for me. So I just thought I would share that with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my article here that I'm writing, and I'm going to publish it. I'm going to publish it soon. Let's see. Should I put no? I could publish it right now, but I want to reread it, and I want to add the new moon for October, which I haven't done yet. Okay, so here's the first topic, okay? Number 1, Pluto is a powerhouse right now. What is going on? All right, so from September 30th, Pluto moved 1 minute to the lowest in Capricorn in degrees that it's going to go in this retrograde cycle. And that means that it's also at the lowest degree that it will be at until another 250 years. Okay, so this is it. And why is that important? I'm going to tell you why in a second, because there are certain special things at this degree. And the degree it is 27 and 54 minutes, retrograde of Capricorn. It's going to be at this degree for, I believe, 20 days. And then on October 20th, it's going to move to 2755, and it'll be moving direct. Now, during that period of 20 days, it stations direct, right? First it stations retrograde, and then it stations direct, but basically it's not moving, okay? And then when it moves 1 minute forward, right? So you can think of it like this. The arrow and the tension of Pluto is just pulled way back as far as it can go for 20 days, right? It will retrograde again back into Capricorn during 2024 in September and November. But when it does that, it's only going to go back to 29 degrees. Now that is going to be off the hook because 29 is a critical degree. It's one of the most potent degrees in astrology, along with 0 and other things, but 29 is big. And so okay, so with the arrow pulled back like that, why is this important? We are still in the lunar month of September 14th through October 13th, right? So we've got almost, let's see, we've got 8 days. We've got like over a week to go. So we're still under the influence of those energies. Now, some fascinating dynamics have occurred at this time, and I'll tell you what's going on for this lunar month, and it's intense, friends. And it's going to be this case for October as well. But Uranus is at 22 degrees of Taurus, retrograde. And 22, certain degrees have specific meanings. And I learned this from studying Astrolada's work. And there's an astrologer who passed away from Europe, and he was an expert in the meaning of the specific numbers of astrological degrees. And she's promoted his work, and his family kind of somehow, worked with her to make his work available. So that's where I learned this. She's got a really cool channel. Anyway, so and I learned it from my teacher, right, who studied it and then talked about it with me as well. So basically 22, the meaning of 22 is kill or be killed. Okay, so when you're talking about Uranus, which is a planet representing the energies of advanced technology, of lightning, of shocking insights, of the God force coming in and just fucking things up. Okay. I will you up. Okay. That's like when God comes in and does that. That's Uranus. That's Uranus energy. So now that energy is at 22. And it's going to be at 22 next month as well. Is it going to be at 22 in November? I don't remember right now. Do I have it up? Because I have all this stuff up for this talk. I have all up. Let's see here. Let me just check. Yeah, it's at 22 in October. And let me just check and see if it's at, because why not? Let's just do this. It's retrograding, so it'll come back around back to 22 at some point in a few months. And let me just get the November moon because I want to see if it moves off. Because the reason I'm looking this up is it tells us about the intensity here. And that's what I want to communicate to you. The state of the energies, not just today and not just what's been happening, but forward looking, the potentials, right? Okay, so here it is. I have all this ready. I just didn't know I was going to talk about November. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, okay, so in November, Uranus is off 22, but Mars opposes Uranus within a degree at 22 of Scorpio. So you're not going to see it coming, right? When Mars is at 22 opposing Uranus, whatever happens, it's just, we're not going to see it coming, whether it's in your personal life or your private life or whatever. And Mars is at the new moon. It's conjunct, right? So it's right next to it. So dang, this is going to be exciting. And look, I want to tell you something. And this relates to why did nothing happen on September 23rd? Okay, because a lot of people were saying, ooh, tension is high. something could happen. And I want to talk about why didn't something happen? And I looked at these charts ahead of time, and, eventually I'll get to where I'm organized enough to put this out ahead of time. But this is in my Substack, so you can look at the charts there. And it's very simple to look at. So you don't have to be an astrologer. I make it easy. But what you can see is that for this lunar month, which we still have over a week of, and the new moon energy sets the energy for the whole month, okay? And then the full moon sort of adjusts it. But the new moon energy, so the lunar month energy, had trines at 7 of 12 of the major cosmic bodies. And what does that mean? That means 7 of the powerhouses of the zodiac had favorable aspects, and not like small favorable aspects. You had Pluto in trine with the sun and moon, in trine with Uranus, and you had Saturn in trine with the key goddesses. Okay, I didn't count them in the major cosmic bodies, but Saturn trine Ceres, the Great Mother, trine the Divine Mother, trine Vesta, who guards the sacredness, right, in the home, in the temple. In Pluto was trine Sedna, the wounded child, right, who turns into a goddess. She embodies her divinity once she recovers from her victimhood, right, and claims dominion over her life and acts in self-responsibility. And then she, is this wonderful, wonderful, fertile, abundant divine source, right? You had Chiron trine Venus and Juno. So Venus, beauty, abundance, and Juno, the generations. So that's a strong foundation for this month. And the reason that I'm taking the time to say what the energies were at the new moon for this month, which already happened, is because the solstice, the equinox occurred during this lunar month. So it helped to flavor. It was the new moon within which the solstice, I keep saying solstice, within which the equinox occurred, the fall equinox on September 23rd. Okay, so the equinox was seated within these energies, and there was a lot of support. So underneath, there's a lot of support for us, which is, I think, coming through on the Schumann, right, with the quality spiking, and with the frequencies, sort of testing these new highs for recent years. Okay, not new highs in general, because we've been at 27 before, but it's like been 4 years or something, to my memory. Now, here's the thing. The stresses for this month, and I'm seeing it over and over, and I think it's really important to highlight, the stresses for this month were personal and psychological and health-wise and lifestyle. So everybody who was calling something for the 23rd, in my view, they were right. They were right about the tension. They were right about, maybe the breaking point. But it's personal, okay? It's personal. And this occurred before Pluto moved back to its final degree, where the bow's all the way pulled back, right? The 23rd, the equinox. And so you had Pisces for this lunar month, right, which goes for 8 more days, opposing the new moon. So that's psychological stress. That's spiritual stress, right? If you're disconnected from God in any way this month, you've really been feeling it. Okay, I've been feeling it. Okay, I've been stressed to the max at times this month, and we had stress from Venus and Juno exactly opposing within a degree, so very tight opposition, opposing Hygeia, who represents our health. how our wellness, our mental wellness, and how we live our lives, our lifestyle. And so the vulnerability was in that Venus Juno opposing Hygeia from Leo, because Leo is the individual. So within all of us, right, we had this stress over resources, over what I truly care about. Like, am I going to be able to have it? Am I going to be able to keep it? Am I going to be able to grow it? Am I going to be able to have it last? Right? Because Juno really is the clan mother. Her outlook is over generations. So Venus had this energy with her of long term, right? How is it going to be for the long term? And right now, the chaos is so high in the outer world that we can't know with our minds. So I talked about the lack of mental clarity earlier, and I didn't finish that thought. I'm going to finish it right now. So here's the thing, okay? When Pluto first moved into Aquarius, I think it was a year ago, a little over a year ago, year and a half, the charts, the Schumann was amazing at that time. It was like a herald of energy, just like a huge announcement. Like these major gates of heaven, images shown. And it in my view, the Schumann kind of human consciousness, right, reflected in the map of the Schumann, basically offered to us, this could be amazing. Okay, because Pluto hasn't been here for 250 years, right? So we're in a new day, and the age hasn't changed. I mean, this is, oh God, how many years is it? All right. The age of Aquarius, right, is here now. And I don't remember if it's 2,500 year cycle or a 1,250 year. I don't remember, but it's like a really long cycle. So we're heralding this new energy, these new capabilities that we are bringing online as humans, this new way of living, which is, anyway. So I don't want to get into that too much because it's not what I want to focus on. But what I want to focus on is that it's almost like in the background, the divine is throwing us so much support. Those incredible images when Pluto first moved into Aquarius on the Schumann. It was amazing. Like at that time, I have Substack articles talking about the cycles and what they represented. And then we get a month like this month, okay, where the psychological and spiritual stresses are so high on us. They're high on us as individuals, and they're high on us in the body, right? Because our health, our lifestyle, that's what's stressed. And our spiritual state, our mental state, that's, Neptune in an opposition, for this month, right? For the energies of this month. From within Pisces, at towards the end of Pisces here, at the high degrees of Pisces, that's some stressful, mature mental and spiritual stuff that we're all dealing with, and that we're going to be dealing with even more intensely as Neptune keeps moving towards 29 degrees, where it will peak, where the stresses over that will peak. And so what you are seeing right now is you are seeing intense, incredible psychological warfare. Yeah. How do you know that you're seeing that? When you're looking at social media and you're seeing picture after picture of stuff that stresses you out, that makes you super afraid, just this is where your ability to have discernment comes in, right? And like I said, we don't have the mental clarity. And I've been working with these ideas because of an aspect that's going on in my personal astrology, right? Where I have Eris and Mercury in aspect. right? So Mercury represents the mind, and Eris represents chaos, discord, confusion. And so I was musing with the energy of this morning. And energies for me are personified, right? So I was musing about Eris this morning. And what I realized is that the gift that she brings when she's in tight aspect with Mercury, right? Because I got to tell you something, making an outline of my thoughts right now is virtually impossible. It is so hard for me to do that. And, I've had jobs where I've had to be very analytical in nature. So I know that I have been competent at this in the past. Okay. But, trying to follow a to-do list right now, it's off the hook. It's very hard to get things done with this aspect. But when I was musing on it, what I got about it from from looking at the energies was, here's the gift that Eris brings. Okay, so there's a couple things here. And the reason that I'm going into this is because I think it relates to all of us. Carrie, your comment is so funny. Carrie says, you need a 5D Venn diagram. You know what? You get me, girl, because there's nothing more that I want than that. And in my mind, I actually have it all imagined how I would do that, how I would present it, but I do not have the technology. And if I had the technology, I wouldn't know how to operate it. But yeah, I imagine that all the time. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm just going to read some of the other comments before I go on. Hi, Michelle. It's great to have you here. Yeah, yeah. I love that I know you're so into the 5D space because of our communications and the video you sent me of yourself. Um, yeah, yeah. I fully agree with what you're saying, with what Michelle's saying here. Um, Rick, that's interesting. The energy between all the parents is just wow. What does that mean? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it contentious? Is it supportive? Is it all of those things all at once? Which brings me back to the topic. And we were talking about the reason I'm talking about this Eris energy is because it's dominant in all of the astrology right now for everyone. Um, okay, it's just wow. Okay, but that doesn't give me a texture here. But okay, it's big. Okay, I'll just take it like that. Which isn't surprising because in the charts right now, Eris and it was last month, it was this month, it's next month, it's the month after that. Eris and the North Node are on the same degree, and I think in October they're separated by less than 1 degree, and then they come back again in November. But what that means when Eris and the North Node are together, it means that we really want to do something in a new way, especially because Eris is in Mars and the North Node's in Mars. So the North Node is kind of like the new evolution of the soul, right? How does your soul want to incarnate this time? Like, how do you want to do it differently this time than other times where you've been in incarnation? Than the past. It could even just be this lifetime, right? I did this in the past in this lifetime, and now I want to do something new. So the North Node in Aries has a lot of amplitude, right? It has a lot of power, and it wants to do something new, and it's all fired up because it's in fiery Aries tropically, and it is coming up on Chiron, and Chiron is both the wounded healer and the master, the polymath, right? Who's good at everything. The Leonardo da Vinci, right? Chiron was the learned civilized centaur who taught, the sons and daughters of the gods and goddesses, right? So someone in a very high station who becomes a master of themselves first, and then of whatever they're teaching. They teach from that wounded place. So as the North Node comes up on Chiron, it wants to achieve mastery in whatever this new thing is. And of course, Eris goes way too fast to achieve that mastery in the moment, right? So it's frustrating for the North Node. But then you put the energy of Eris right on top of the North Node. Woo! Whoa. Right? Because what is Eris? Confusion, chaos, discord. I'm going to tell you the secret of Eris in a minute. So, what happens here? Well, with Eris at the North Node, or Eris in direct aspect with my Mercury, as I said, the mind, which represents the mind, which represents communication and other things. What I realized is that the gift that Eris gives us when she confuses us is she asks us, her energy asks us to go within to our pure connection with God, right? To pray on it, to meditate on it, to get to 0 point in energy on it, to get to a state of wholeness. And Eris is one of what we call the dark goddesses, right? Because she represents a shadow element. What is a shadow element of our personality? It's from the dark side of our personality. The dark side means things that we don't think of as stuff we, view positively, right? We don't view confusion positively usually. We don't view discord positive usually, okay? But these things are tools for us to learn from, right? They are created by the creator, same as the light side. The darkness and the light are two sides of the state of wholeness, all from the creator, right? All made by one creator. So they're all of divinity. Divinity means of God. That's what it means. And when I say God, to define it, I'm talking about the Most High, the creator of the universe, the God of Jesus Christ in the Bible, the God that Jesus talks about as the Father. That's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about. And on a personal level, I'm talking about the source of my soul, right? The creator that is the source of life, the source of my human soul, of this incarnation. So what Eris does, right, because she is also in relationship with Neptune right now, and so she was quincunx, and as was the North Node, quincunx, which is a spiritual challenge to the new moon for this period that we're in. So what that means is that it added to the mental confusion. Kill those flies. Okay. No, you may not be in my sacred space. Okay, so but and that's why we have so much psychological warfare right now. But what she also does is she provides cover. So if you have it together, and the way that you can have it together is through that divine connection, right? Through the impulse that how God communicates with you, how your own soul communicates with you when you receive in prayer, right? When you receive guidance spiritually. That's the answer. And that's what I saw this morning, that the blessing and the beauty of Eris being in such a direct relationship with my Mercury, right? Communication right now, and mental, right? Facilness is I've got to rely on soul. I've got to rely on God. I've got to rely on my connection with divinity. And that's what lifts me up and gets me through this. And the message was just so clear this morning that it was such a blessing. And the thing is it's in the charts for all of us because it's in relationship with the psychology of the moment at 25 degrees and 25, I think it just moved to 24, or it's going to move to 24 of Aries. Okay. Just look at my chart here. Yeah, it's at 25 for this month. And let me just look at next month. You know what? I know you're just sitting there going, why does it matter if it's at 24 or 25? I'm going to tell you why. I am going to tell you why. Okay. Because there's secret points on the astrology chart. And there's no greater joy that I have. One of my great joys is finding these points and thinking about them. They just pop up. Okay, so Eris and the North Node on October 14th at the next new moon. So this is going to be the next new moon for the equinox. Okay, so you had the equinox, and now here's the first new moon within the equinox. So both of these moons, that's why I'm spending so much time on this, are important because they flavor the next 6 months from equinox to equinox. That's why. So the themes that we explore now that have come up for us, and that will continue to come up for us, both through next week and then with the Pluto move for the next 20 days, which takes us into the new moon. So for that next lunar month through November 12th. Okay, so this period, this is where we have the opportunity to gain clarity over where do we want to be in 6 months and to get insights into where we need to upgrade our lives, to fix mistakes, to enhance our lives, where have we fallen short where we could do better, where am I not loving myself, where am I not taking care of myself. Health is critical right now. It's a critical topic. Health, lifestyle, and wellness and mental wellness. Why? Because in this is for the United States, Hygeia in a lot of locations is on the cusp of the 8th house transit. What does that mean? That means in a lot of locations, let me just look at this. Hold on, let me go back to my chart here before I say this sentence. I just want to check it again. Hold on. Yeah, that's that. I'm just looking at okay, so Hygeia has been in the yeah. Depending on where you are, but it's been like in the 11th house, which is the group human consciousness, okay? The age of Aquarius consciousness too, or the 12th house. But, and again, it depends on your location, but for a lot of us, depending, in the United States, Hygeia is in the, at the equinox, is in the 8th house. And that's the house of life and death. It's the house of rebirth, right? It's intense. It's ruled by Pluto and Mars traditionally. So we all benefit by focusing on our health here, really. Like it's a big deal. Focusing on our mental health, focusing on our physical health, focusing on spiritual health. And if we do that now and make preparations, there's all sorts of people who are doing things like pantry preparations. They're looking at currencies and what am I doing with this and that. But what I'm talking about is on a personal level, developing. There's people that talk about developing mental toughness, and that's important. But I think that before mental toughness or mental stability, there's spiritual stability. And that comes from connection with the divine. So hold on one sec, because I'm just gonna change something here really quickly on this chart because I want to see if I go all the way across the country to New York, New York, where is it going to put me? Where is it going to put Hygeia? It's going to put Hygeia in the 8th house. So for a lot of the country, it's in the 8th house. So that's intense. Okay. So we've got a lot of major cities, a lot of metropolitan areas that have Hygeia, health and wellness, and lifestyle in the 8th house for, this month, the same month the equinox occurred in. So for November, for October, let's see, it shifts to, hold on one sec. For October, it shifts to the 2nd house for a lot of us, okay? And that's what we value. So we've got the rest of this month, sort of through the end of next week to nail some of these ideas and concepts down. But since it's also the energy of the equinox, we've got longer than that. We've got weeks, right? The solstice is on December 21st. So the energy is going to shift again there. It's going to adjust the energy of this equinox that I'm talking about. But the equinox energy still is in effect through the next equinox. So people are talking about the eclipses of this month and how impactful they're going to be. But let me tell you something. The real change, the real impact, in my view, of the energies is in the spring. Okay, at the eclipses of the spring of 2024. So this is the time to prepare. And I feel it's important, and that's why I've spent so much time talking with you about it, because, personally, I'd love to be in a better place, in a lot of ways. I've a lot of things. I just went through this life and death experience that I explained in my last video. And when you go through that, it clarifies your outlook, right? It clarifies your outlook. And some of the things that clarity is telling me, I'm not happy with. I'm not happy with my conclusions as, for my human experience. I'm not happy with it. And there's some places where I put myself in I made choices. They got me to a certain place, and I knew I would get here. I didn't know I'd have a life and death event at the time, but I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to go through it. And I know the divine will lift me up, because in some ways there's a bottoming for me right now. In some ways things are amazingly great, but this is it's a huge shift in my life. That's where I'm at. That's the energy. But I think it's that way for all of us, and the exact reasons might be different. But we all know, right, that we're facing a critical moment in history, literally in history, literally in time. Like, it's amazing that we're here right now. And I don't know what in the heck is going to happen, right? None of us know. And that is why Eris is kind of training us right now, because she dominates the moment at the North Node. A lot of people say, oh, the asteroids, don't have as much of an effect. But here's the thing. Most of the planets are personified in the male energy. And so how I think of it is like this. The planets in the masculine in astrology sets the context, right? They kind of set the parameters. And then the women come in. So I'm talking about Venus and the moon. The moon is a feminine energy, but There's also something weird about the moon, which I'm sure all of you, some of you, there's just something weird about the moon. But Luna, the earth energy, I have friends that are very connected with Luna, the earth energy, the moon energy. But for me, there's something weird there. But then on the feminine side, you have Venus, Ceres, Eris, Juno, Vesta, Lilith, and I've been looking at Hecate as well. And the reason I look at her is because she's very protective. And that's a whole nother video. But let me tell you something. At the new moon, at the full moon that just occurred, it occurred on September 29th, maybe on the 30th for some people. But here's what the lineup was. Venus, Juno, and Hecate were all at 22 degrees of Leo. And that energy is right now for the end of next week. Okay. And flavors the equinox. And, earlier, if you were on when I first started talking about Uranus at 22 of Taurus, you've got these goddesses for this full moon period, all at 22 of Leo. And as I said, 22, the meaning of that degree is kill or be killed. And so it's very intense. So you have Venus there, you have Juno there, and you have Hecate there. And what does that mean? Venus, a goddess of war. My teacher, Andrea, taught me about this, because most people don't see her that way, is what she said. But she said, Venus is about beauty and resources and wealth and value. And do people go to war over these things? Oh, yes, they do. And at the personal level, a man defends his home, right? What is he defending? He's defending Venus in the home, right? The man who goes off to war is defending Venus. He's defending the values of the country. He's defending his home. He's defending, etc. Okay. And Juno, the clan mother, who has a generational outlook. And Juno, when I look at these goddesses at 22, they're not happy. They are serious. They're dead serious. Okay. And Juno's sitting there going, you just attacked my people in Maui, okay, on August 8th, the 8-8 gateway, which is like sacrilege, right? The 8-8 gateway, it's the period of the Sirius star rising. Divine high frequency energy is pouring into Earth. God is giving us this opportunity for amazing connection. And you go and do something like that, right? So she's pissed. And of course, she was opposing Pluto exact at that time. And then you've got, and so Juno cares about the generations, right? And the generations aren't looking too good right now, right? They're looking like there's some problems with the generations of humanity. Like, are we going to make it, right? Now, I believe we are going to make it, because I believe this is the timeline where we make it. So for me, that's true. That's the case. I believe we're at the point where we just keep coming back, and we just keep coming back, and we just keep coming back, and we're going to keep doing that until it's done, until we're done, and we're going to make it, and humanity is going to have a victory. And then Hecate at 22. So if you look her up, you're going to see all sorts of fuckery about the meaning of the dark goddesses. Whether you look up, Eris, Hecate, Lilith, and is it true that the depth of darkness, right, can be expressed through these energies? I guess through some of them. It depends exactly what the details are, because there is misnaming that goes on. So as I research these things, what I find is that something will be named one thing, and then when I suss out the frequency, it will actually be the frequency of something else hidden underneath. So in the interpretation and sussing out the truth is important, in my view, for interpretation. But I'll tell you, I went and I researched Hecate deeply in the last few days. And she is one of the key goddesses that is represented on an ancient um, uh, marble carving somewhere in the Middle East, okay? Or maybe it's in Turkey. Anyway, somewhere in that part of the world. And it's a battle between the gods and the goddesses of Greek and Roman times and the giants. The giants had snakes for legs. So they looked human and they were huge. And then their legs ended in curly snakes. Okay, it's really bizarre. I never want to see that. Okay. Like, what was that? I mean, like, why did they make the giants that way, right? What is the weirdness there? I don't know. But in this ancient carving, this is what Hecate was doing. She was taking flames and toasting one of the giants, one of the snake giants. So she was part of the forces that were ridding these from Earth, ridding them from Earth. In the ancient story of Demeter in the Roman, or Ceres, I think it's, anyway, Ceres and Demeter, they're the same goddess. But in the ancient story, where Demeter/Ceres, where her daughter Persephone, right, is taken to the underworld, the person who sees this happening is Hecate. Now, why can she see it happening? Because she has the gift of seeing in the non-physical, okay, of dominion, of presence and mastery in the non-physical, in the fourth dimension, in the astral, closest to the human form, which, by the way, affects us whether we know it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not. So what she does is she goes to Ceres, Demeter, and she says, look, this is what happened. And then she guides her. She leads her to the opening of the underworld, so that Hecate guides her and leads her so that the mother can go get her daughter. And that is representative in spiritual healing of the shaman who walks you to the gate that opens the dark part of your personality. And you have to walk through alone. And then you either return or you don't, and these are the forces that have been in relationship with, Ceres, Sedna, the wounded child, and Pluto. These have just been pinging each other over and over, and the goddesses pinging Pluto, all these opposing Pluto one by one. And Demeter Ceres going to the underworld to get her child, Persephone, in spiritual healing, is also each of us digging into the depths of our trauma, digging into the depths of our personal experience, and recovering our purity, recovering the truth of our own soul, getting it back, burning to dust what no longer serves. And that's a Pluto mechanism, because Pluto burns, but it's a Hecate mechanism, because Hecate and the feminine has fire, okay? And she has 3 heads, right? Now, in her original depictions, she had one head, and then later she had three. And in my view, for me, I look at that as being able to see in different levels of reality or manifest or understand different levels of reality. But other people interpret it like, oh, it could be the different levels of womanhood, or it could be, whatever. There's a lot to all these concepts. So who guides us to the spiritual experience so that we can recover ourselves? The energy of Hecate, the energy of the shaman in the masculine. And now, can women be shamans? Of course, but I'm just kind of defining the clarity of, for me, the origin frequencies. Because for me, I see women in more of the priestess role. Can a priestess guide to that place as well? Yes, and with other techniques, right? Priestesses use in ancient times other techniques that we won't go into right now. I'm teasing because, some people remember those things. Okay, so what are we saying here? I just want to look at this. Theron, you said a genie. I don't know what I'm wondering. What are you? I don't know if you're in that conversation that's happening, which I love it that you guys are chatting. It's so awesome. And or if you're asking about something about these energies, then go ahead and do that. Let me just think for a second, okay? I'm lost. I said Eris was conjunct Mercury. Rick, I don't know if you're asking me that question. And Theron, okay, there you go. Giants with a snake tail. Okay, that was what brought Jeannie to mind. Good one. I hadn't thought, oh my God. Oh my gosh, girl, what a great insight. I'm assuming you're a girl. I don't know if that's right or not. No, you don't need to tell me. Okay. Wait, what is Rick saying here? He's laughing. Oh my God. I'm losing the plot. Tom, living outside of time. Yes. Okay. So when you have skills, right, in the non-physical, which in my view, all of us do, those are outside of time. They absolutely are. It's just really fascinating and beautiful. Okay. So I'm just going to say how I'm feeling. Okay. So how am I feeling is, I'm feeling much better. But I'm not feeling as good as right after I survived everything. And, I probably feel the worst today since I came back. And what I realized is I'm having an internal battle over serving God, and that seems like embarrassing to talk about or admit, but why not why not speak to the reality of things? I got all these insights, and with the clarity of that moment, right? And now that I'm back home, the part of me that is stuck in my ways here is like, yeah, but now I'm going to have to change. And that means that I have to apply my will into the physical world and make the change happen that I want to have happen. And so I've been struggling with that for days. And that's partly why it's taken me till now to do a video, because I'm just I've been having this internal battle, and I want everything to be perfect. I want to do my art. I consider this my art. I want to present to you guys, the best quality that I can, and to be in the best state to present it. And so I go quiet, right, when I feel like I'm not at my best. But would be great, maybe, would be is if I just do the videos anyway, if I just produce the content anyway, because like I said earlier, nobody's at 100% amplitude all the time. It's not a accurate reflection of reality. And thank you. And so I'm asking myself to have the courage that when I feel shitty, I'm just going to get on anyway. Because I get on, like, a couple times I got on to do lives, and I just was like, I feel like I look like, and I don't wanna, have my face look like this, but I just need to get over myself, is the truth, and then I need to get over my internal battle. And today I got clarity on it, and I guess, the Schumann happened, and, it's just like I was saying earlier about the Schumann resonance, right? How we live the experience, and we can look at the data and say, yes, this is happening. It's real. Like, these frequency numbers mean something that's relevant in my life, or, whatever amplitude numbers or whatever. But what that is that it doesn't look like anything's happening on the surface, right? So over the last days that I've been going through this internal struggle, you can't see anything. Like, another person might look at me and not, you don't know, right? But there it is. It's all happening unseen. And in my view, that is what's happening for a lot of us, right? That's in general what's happening. That the really important stuff right now, and this is also in the outer world, in the external world, the really important stuff is happening out of view. And this is the second blessing that Eris brings us. The second blessing is she provides cover. That energy of discord, confusion, disharmony, strife. When everything is thrown up in the air and everyone is running around like a chicken with their head cut off. That's what my mom always used to say. She used to use that expression all the time. If you have done the preparations, right? You have the lay of the land of the energies, right? You're doing your personal growth work, your spiritual work, whatever it is. You're assessing, right? You're moving forward in your life. You're bringing it into physical reality. Then when everyone else is in chaos and confusion, you can keep going. You can work your plan. And it's a good strategy. And it's been one of mine. And I learned that also from living in this part of Northern California. It's really, really interesting. Going back to 2017, there was that major eclipse across the United States. And it started on the West Coast. So a lady who does what she calls gate work. Okay, so this is a whole thing in the non-physical, that there's gates and all this stuff. And other people work with ley lines, but some people work with gates, energy gates. And so I'm one of the people that works with energy gates, but I don't really do that anymore, because what happens is you do stuff for a while and then, like, you move on to something else. So I work more with gates within the human energy field now, because it's the same technology, it's the same capability that we have as humans. It's just applied in a more micro scale, which to me is more interesting now, because it's more interesting to change my life and to not focus on what's going on in this crazy world, right? So anyway, so I got together with her group. Sandra Walter did this event, and we did a bunch of energy work, and she did a whole bunch of stuff. And then I got back to San Francisco. So we did that in preparation for this event. And then, so I was back in this Bay Area, the broader Bay Area, for the actual eclipse. But on the day before, right, I was guided to go into San Francisco. So I actually got in the car and drove all the way into San Francisco, and I drove around San Francisco, and I parked the car and I looked up, and it was like, the fog was literally like miles high. Okay, I don't know how high it was, but it seemed like it was miles. And And in my mind's eye, I saw Archangel Michael standing in the city, in the center of the city. And I just was like, I just looked up at him and I'm like, what is going on? Like, and I just knew we're not going to be able to see the eclipse tomorrow. And, I just got this very protective feeling from him relative to everything, San Francisco, the clouds, the eclipse, whatever. So on the day of the eclipse, the next day, I got up early in the morning and I was looking at the maps and I was like, I would actually have to drive for hours to get out of the fog on the West Coast. Okay. Like there was so much fog that I was just like, I'm just not doing this. I'm just, it's not meant to be. I'm not fighting, divine guidance, which is don't do it. Just stay at home. So I did. And I stayed at home but around the peak of the eclipse, I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, the eclipse is peaking. Maybe I should just go outside and take a look. And I went out and I looked up, and this is where the moon was in front of the sun, right? And I'm going to invoke a space of sacred discharge imbued by the violet flame because I'm just speaking in neutral. Okay, so I'm not invoking, I'm not creating anything. I'm just in neutral, telling a story that has no energy to it. And when I looked up, what I saw was an insane number of demonic energies just flying all around, okay, way up in the sky. And I thought, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense that would be the case during an eclipse where the moon is in front of the sun. Why? Because the sun represents the soul, right? So the moon in front of the sun could represent the soul covered over. And when the soul is disconnected from the human form, what happens? Well, then you get invasive forces attempting to get into the human energy field. Violet flame over that, I do not consent. So I just published an article on Substack about setting energy parameters. And in the Substack I'm publishing tonight, I link to that one and 2 others. And in it, I talk about how to manage your human energy field so that you can set permissions and you can determine what do you want in the field. And to be honest, this type of competency is represented in part by the energy of Hecate and Lilith. Okay, because Lilith is another name for Hecate, some believe. And each one has just, there might be a slightly different flavor, right, to the various ones. But the other thing that Hecate did was that, Persephone ended up Ceres and Pluto make an arrangement, and Persephone and Pluto make an arrangement where Persephone goes to the underworld and becomes queen of the underworld, queen of the shadow, for 6 months. And then the other 6 months, she's up above ground at surface level with Ceres. And so that is the story of the seasons, right? During summer and spring and summer, Persephone is above ground. And during fall and winter, Persephone goes below ground. Well, guess who accompanies Persephone to be her companion to the underworld? Well, it's Hecate, right? So Hecate is like in a grandmother role there. The elder woman, the wise woman, accompanying Persephone to be with her. So she has, a companion, someone to lean on, someone to, who's feminine, right? Like her, who's in the line of women, of the line of women's wisdom. So I'm just providing this information as a, because these 3, Juno, Hecate, and Venus, we're all at 22 degrees of Leo for this full moon period, which is not over, and which, helps to flavor the equinox. And yeah. So this is some powerful stuff. And these ladies are not messing around. And so where I said that I feel that the masculine cosmic bodies, Jupiter, Uranus, Sun, Mars, Mercury, where they set the context of the energy, But it's the women that sort of, they demand stuff, and then they inspire the men, right? They inspire the male frequencies. They inspire the, the context that becomes set, or they goad, right? Or the nag, and then when one of these goddesses just gets I don't know, how do I say this in a polite way? When she sets her mind on something, big things happen, right? Eris started the War of Troy. Juno or Hera, she helped mold the destinies of the gods and goddesses. Vesta, guards the sacred flame, the divinity in the temple, right? And in modern day, you can compare that to, Jesus pointing at the heart and the trifold flame, flowing, the light flowing from his heart. That would be the sacred flame. See how this is relevant to today? And it's not about different religions or whatever. It's just a frequency. What do we call that frequency today? Today, we only present it in an image. I don't know. I mean, I guess we could call it the Holy Spirit, maybe. But the Holy Spirit has more independence. With Jesus and the flame coming out of his heart, that's more like Vesta guarding, the flame in the heart, in the hearth. So our gas stoves, our wood-burning fireplaces, where the flame is lit in the home, these are representations of divinity. And that's why they're under attack. Which, do you care about that? Because these are things that we should stand up for. In my area, we were not allowed to burn wood, to have fires at Christmas this year. Because a bunch of commies said no. Okay. You know why? Here's why. Because a few years ago, one man made almost 600 calls to complain about smoke and fireplace burning. And then the local governing body for the county said, oh my goodness, there's been 600 calls. This is a real problem for our county. So now we're just going to have days where we just don't burn that. And coincidentally, it's going to be on your holidays. And and no one said, oh, it was one crazy guy who called 598 times. And there was like two other people that only each called once. Nobody said that. So back to the psychological warfare component, okay? What you are also seeing a lot of right now is you are seeing people in media just speak straight out lies to your face. And you sit there and you go, wait a sec, I know that it's not that, it's this other thing. And here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing that I noticed in my area. In 2021, when all these mandates were brought out, people really woke up here. And I was so grateful and proud of everybody here there were so many people who organized and brought an end to all of that. It took months and months, okay? And it took a lot of bravery on the part of people. And I really had huge respect. But one thing that I noticed as I talked to people was that they didn't extrapolate that out beyond that one narrow topic. And I think we're moving into a time now where we're starting to understand that the perceptions we had then about, wait a sec, what am I really being told? Is that accurate? Like, what's my personal experience? Does it match with what I'm being told is reality? And then, now we're starting to see that in a lot of other areas of life. And I think what's going to happen is that we're going to, the people who were kind of stuck thinking, oh, it's only this one topic, we're going to start realizing, in general, people will start realizing that it's not just that one topic. And then the next level of that, okay, once you get that it's like not only multiple topics, but it seems like it's like everything in life has been like twisted in certain ways. And then once you get to that, then you start to ask, wait a sec, wait, when did this start? Right? And then you start looking backwards through time. Juno, the generations backwards. Venus, Juno, and Hecate at 22, right? Hecate walking us back to the underworld, walking us to the shadow realm to find the truth, right? To accompany the soul on its journey through the darkness. And we realize, okay, maybe it has been a few decades. Then we realize maybe it's been like actually quite a bit longer than that. And then we realize, like, what year is it even? Right? So this is the soup of energy that we're in. It is so exciting, isn't it? So do you want to know why August 4th was important? Here it is, right? August 4th with the electronic broadcasting, electronic alert system, right? Everybody was freaking out about the frequency and, am I going to leave my phone on? Am I going to put it in a Faraday bag? Am I going to whatever? So August 4th was a fake out. It's really interesting because, and I didn't know that until today. Okay, for sure. We had one phone in the house that was just happened to be off. And there's another phone in the house that just happened to be on. Nobody planned it. Like it happened when I didn't even think it was going to happen. But anyway, so here's the thing. The real power move happened on September 30th. And then 3 days later, on October 3rd, a monumental revolutionary event happened in the United States of America. And that revolutionary event was the Speaker of the House was removed from his position. And I don't know if it's the first time ever or it's the first time in like 100 years or whatever, but it's like this never happens. And not only was it that happened, but the forces of, let me just broadly say this, that the forces of we the people, are we the people going to now ascend rather than, the continued 0.01%, no matter what the name of the party is, right? No matter which polarity we've been told that the person is on, right? They're actually, when you get to the extreme polarity, you're at the same frequency. Right? See how that works? Why? Right? Because when I'm at, I just dropped something that was in there. Oh, my card. Right? So if I go around, if I go all the way around to the extreme on both sides, I end up at the same point. Right? That's sacred geometry in 3D. That's as good as I can do for a 5D representation right now, right? Because I can't make the energy colored. Yeah, Nova. I wonder what year it is. Me too. I wonder. I really wonder, but I don't wonder that much because I just don't know. So here it is. Let me just finish up on October 4th. Let me just tell you. So October 4th was a fake out, right? Because the real power time was September 30th through October 3rd. And on the third day after Pluto's move, that's when the revolutionary action happened in the United States of America, when Pluto had moved, the closest it's going to get to the USA Pluto return in this cycle, the last time, this is the closest right now, right where it is today, and since September 30th hold on, I had to actually do all this by hand because the ephemeris was wrong. That was amazing. Actually, I have it in my notes over there and I don't want to get up and go get it. But I had to sketch it. I had to do it all by hand because the ephemeris has all the wrong dates for the Pluto. I'm using an ephemeris that is well known. Okay, it's a well-known producer of the ephemeris. The dates are wrong for the Pluto moves. Like, that's interesting, right? So you got to do your own research, number one. Number two, I mentioned hidden points in astrology. There are times when powerful information is going to be attempted to be hidden from you or hidden from us, hidden from humanity. And, maybe it's time we just say, no, I'm going to look that up myself because you don't get to do that anymore. You don't get to fake me out. So October 4th, the EAS test, the cell phone test, that date was a fake out. And I saw on Twitter, I don't remember who posted it or I would say their name, but someone said it was 10-4, right? For truckers, doesn't that mean like everything's good or whatever? So after the Revolutionary Act of October 3rd, 10-4 happened, right? That was the message there was a message on 10-4. So yeah, in slang, for truckers who are the ones that broke us out of the 2021 stuck Schumann energy, it was the truckers. We broke out of those trends that I described earlier in the live stream on January 29th of 2022, the day the Canadian truckers pulled into Ottawa. That's when the trend broke. And I was just so proud of those people because they did it for all of us. And they gave up a lot. A lot of them had to sacrifice a lot to get that done. Right? Like, friends, this is a time to be an everyday hero. This is a time in history where the little things that you do, it seems like, oh, they just got in a truck and drove across the country. No, they did something way more than that. Way bigger. And on my Rumble channel, I have some videos with the word Jericho, Jericho, in them. And in it, I explain the energy dynamics of what the truckers did and how what the truckers did was similar to the Bible story of the assault on Jericho and how God guided the army to bring down the walls. That was so cool. That was so cool. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say about the emergency alert system, and I'm putting this in the Substack with an image, this EAS alert happened one time before. It happened one time during President Trump's presidency. And everybody who was against him was like, I'm not getting that. I'm turning off my alerts and just all this stuff, right? And they were like, no, I'm not getting an alert from that president. And then this time, okay, now that it was under Biden's administration, now you have a whole bunch of people that are saying, they've done all this research, they're concerned about these certain things, and so now they're like, no, I'm not getting an alert from this administration, from this president, on the exact opposite polarity. So we both got to act that out, right? Whatever side you're on, or maybe you're in the middle, because that's where I'm at right now. I'm in the middle. But, what if there was a real crisis? like maybe we need to get an alert on it. We had a tsunami here in January 15th, 2 Januaries ago, and I got an alert on my phone, and it gave me time to pack a bunch of stuff, throw it in the car, and get the heck out of here to higher land. Am I glad I got a text message, I got a phone call, I got like all this stuff, okay? And like they really tried to reach us. And I saw other people throwing stuff in cars and driving off. And some people just like went back to bed, I guess. But everything was, fine. I wrote about it at the time on my Substack. But would that have been a good thing to have on 9/11? We didn't hear on 9/11. We didn't hear from the president for. I mean, I think it was at least the next day. Until he went to New York City, and I don't know if that was 3 days later or whatever the number was. We didn't hear from the president until he went on top of the pile of rubble or whatever he did and got on the megaphone. And then that was broadcasted, right? So, yeah, maybe it's a good thing to have a system like that. And if we think we can't trust it, then maybe there's things you can do to affect change so that you can. For me, it would be prayer, it would be intention setting, it would be, setting my field parameters, so I can hear it, I'm aware of it, but I don't have to let it become part of my energy field or affect my cells. You have that authority as a living soul in human form, okay, which I kind of talked about in the part earlier about setting technology parameters. So you don't have to participate in collective hysteria anymore. You can set your boundaries energetically so that the soul that you are has dominion, the truth of who you are. And when I say the soul, I'm talking the soul and human, the divinity that you are. And I understand that there are people who don't think the soul can talk to you that way, or who feel like we're in some kind of, matrix where we don't really have that connection or whatever. And those are all valid experiences. And I'm just presenting a more expanded point of view that is just not separated like that. Now, in other lifetimes, do I remember being separated from that ability to interact at this level? 100%, like in thousands of them, probably. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what that really was? How many years or how many lifetimes or whatever, but it seems like it was a really long time that I couldn't communicate, right? You get lost on the adventure. You keep taking the side path. No, now I'm just sticking with returning to God, right? Okay, so let me just look at my Substack and see that I'm writing and see if I got everything that I wanted to cover with you guys. Because my purpose here today was to talk about the energy landscape and say to you all that we can handle the energy of this moment. We can handle it. We have gotten so much more mature. We've developed mad skills over the last 3.5 years. I mean, think about how it was before the lockdowns and think about how we are now. We are so much stronger. We are so much more resilient. And are there people that are ill or are still dealing with major upsets and situations? Absolutely. Because we live in a chaotic time, and it affects each of us differently based upon, who we are as a living soul. We each have our own unique stories, and we're each maybe struggling with something different. But, we have autism in the extended family here. We have that present and in various extended family members, okay, over time. And there's been a big discussion over is this Asperger's, is like what is happening, and then diagnosed autism, and when something like that occurs where there's even difficulty communicating. For example, sometimes it's something you can notice on the outside, right? Like somebody can be aware of it, but sometimes they're not, right? They're not aware because they don't know the symptoms. I was with I was with this child and his mother in the grocery store, and he was behaving so well. I mean, she's a mother of the year. She has been so amazing with helping this child and looking for, how do we cure this aspect? How do we cure that aspect? How do we do this and that? There's some amazing stories there, but as we were at checkout, the young boy was bored, and so he started picking up the phone, the checker. I don't know why it was within reach, but it was, and that the checker only uses. And when they left, it was obvious that the checker did not understand that that boy had actually done an amazing job behaving in the store, and that his mother had done an amazing job with him, and that everything was calm and proceeded very well. And I wanted to say something to the checker, and I realized I would disturb everything that she's created, this beautiful moment, like where we've had this successful adventure to the grocery store. So he picked up the phone, whatever, no harm done. But the greatest victories aren't necessarily going to be seen. And they're not necessarily going to be seen by everyone. And some of us are only going to know in our hearts, I think this is what happened. But when I look at the astrology charts and I look out at the flows of energy, because you can look at the flows and see what happens. Where does the energy go? And I'm not saying that you can do predictions, because I'm not into that. I'm not into telling the future type stuff. To me, that's in the realm of psychic. That is not something that I do, nor that I think is possible in these times anymore. I don't think it's possible to tell the future, because I think it's all in God's hands now. It's occurring moment to moment, and we just don't know what's going to happen, right? So there's that walking in faith aspect to this part of the journey. But in terms of knowing the details, like, hey, what year is it? Hey, what really happened on October 3rd? Hey, what's really going on behind the scenes? Hey, why is this thing happening? We think it's bad, but maybe the good guys had to, participate in it or get it done because it protected some other aspect. And, when President Trump was in office and the whole Afghanistan thing was being negotiated, right? There's something that he said, and I think this gave us a really big clue as to the nature of the times that we are living in. Because I don't remember a president talking like this before. Okay. Hopefully I haven't had that shadow on me this whole time. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I guess just I'll just accept my shadow. But what he said was, he said to win the war. This is my paraphrasing. I'm probably not going to get it. I'm going to get this number correct, but the exact words that were communicated are paraphrasing. Okay, it's my impression, not what was actually said. It was something like, to win the war the way the generals wanted to win it would have required killing 40 million of the population over there, 40 million people. And he said, I'm just not going to do that. We are not going to do that. And so I think that gives you a clue into the nature of the times that we are living in, whatever that means. And we're not going to know what the real, what really happened. I mean, as far as I can see in the charts, it's going to be like 2050 when the truth of the World Trade Centers comes out. Whatever really happened, it might be till 2050. I think I talked about it in my video that I linked on Twitter recently and all the other media, where I analyzed the chart in July of 2021. It was incredible. I just had this inspiration come over me to pull up the World Trade Center chart for 8:46 a.m. New York time when the first tower got hit. And when I pulled up that chart on that exact day I pulled it up, there was, I think it was a 12 or 16 point star in the chart. I mean, I showed it to my teacher and, she was like, this is really rare. And she also said that when you see beauty like this, you are seeing chaos in the chart. And, I looked over the last few months, somebody who I'm close with, who has a very hard and chaotic life. Their life has always been that way. And I sort of did like a hand scribbled the chart for them, sort of. Okay. So I just sort of sketched out what the chart probably looked like, since, of course, there's no birth time for the person, right? What else, right? For someone who has complete chaos, of course, there's no birth time. So I did an approximation of what the chart most likely is. And what I told this person is, I said, this is one of the most beautiful charts I've ever seen. This is one of the most beautiful charts I have ever seen. The sacred geometries in that chart were stunning. And that's when I knew, this incredible chaos, and this is what we talked about, this incredible chaos that you have been through, somehow God's got your back through this whole thing. And the person knew it. I mean, they have story after story of amazing, crazy miracles, crazy chaos, and then incredible miracles happening. And I think that is the nature of the times we're looking at, that we're living in now. We can't see the beauty right now. We see the chaos. We see the intensity. We see the life or death aspects, right? Because we're all facing that. There are people who know a lot of people who have died now. So it's sobering, serious stuff. And yet somehow I'm in trust and faith that when we look back, we are going to see something beautiful. And it may take decades. It may take a way longer time than any of us want to really know. But I just talk to God and I just say, before I go to heaven or the great beyond or whatever we're going to do next, I just want to know all that stuff. And then I had a dream about it. And you know what? You know what I experienced in my dream? I experienced that moment where I go back. And in that moment, I didn't care. I didn't care about any of the answers and any of the details. I only cared about the joy and love that I felt in every part of my being about returning home to God, returning home. That was all I cared about. And I literally saw myself like taking off the clothes, taking off the layers, taking off the veils. And I was like, woof, I'm done. Woof, I don't care. Whatever that was. Woof, whatever year it is, whatever, whatever the answers I wanted was, I'm back. I'm feeling this incredible joy. Like, whoa, this is awesome. And the knowledge that that is how I'm going to feel, gosh, it really does make me feel like God has my back, right? Because knowing that that's what it will be like, it gives me a lot of comfort. And it makes me really appreciate being here now and being here with all of you. I really mean it. Not just saying that like from my heart, I mean that. And God bless you. And may you have and feel and experience that level of joy and love that you desire, whatever that is for you. And I really appreciate your being here tonight and listening and sharing with me. And I do read all my comments on all my social media. And if I have blocked you, let me just say over the years, I periodically, might get annoyed one day. I'm just really annoyed with the world or something. And then I just block people, especially, earlier when I was, um, starting out, because it took me a while to kind of get in a flow and do all sorts of things I want to talk about right now around learning how to do these things, learning how to do this. But if I've done that, you want to, you want to be unblocked, send me an email, and then I'll unblock you, and then be nice, or just be you, right? Actually, I don't want you to be nice. I only want you to be you. But I want you to be whatever you is, and if it's being nice, then be nice. But if it's just being you, just be you. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I am going to look at the comments. Oh, Chris is great. You guys are having a great chat. I love this. Oh man, you guys are getting into it. I'm just gonna peek into your conversation. La, 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 la. That is great. Oh my god, I love that. Nova just put clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle. I'm not kidding you. That song has come to me in the last few weeks. I love it. I love that you shared that. Let's see. Yes, Spacey says the original sin was abandonment and ultimate vilification of. Okay, yeah, and that's actually what I determined. I mean, I'll use different words, but what I determined, I researched the original meaning in the Latin of sin, S-I-N, to the best that I could. And what I determined was that if you look at the core root, it means separation. And so that what sin, you've sinned against God, what that means is you made a choice that caused you to move further away from God's will in your life or from the truth of who you are as a living soul. And guess what? You can make a new choice to turn back, right? Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? That's and then of course there was the whole Jesus taking away the sins of the world, which I've been researching. Okay, Ren, I'm gonna get to your question in a sec. I've been researching about this, and I think that energetically that there was. Well, I don't have a conclusion about it, but I was just appreciating the energetic of that event. So Ren asked, I don't understand why the heart of the home would be under attack. because it's the strength of humanity, because it's what makes us strong. The home is the center of human life, the family in the home. You know, and even more basic than that, we require shelter from the elements, and then we require a place to cook our meals, to eat, and to bring our water, and to wash our hands, right, which prevents illness, and to cook our food. And we, so that if you really want to go to the core of it, right, it's a basic human necessity, but the heart of the home is the connection with the divine within the human form, the trifold flame in the heart, right, the spark of the soul that enlivens your life force, in my view. And that's reflected in the light, in the light in the gas stove flame, or the pilot light, or the light in the fireplace. Now, could you say the mechanical curlicue of the electric thingy in an electric stove, where that turns red, that is like a Uranian form of that? Yeah, okay, fine, I'll give you that. Yeah, let's go with that too. But I want the choice. Right. And, I live in an area where I wrote about this on Twitter recently. And then when I wrote about it, my posts were all hidden. But because it was about what it's been like in California for the last 3 years and the incredible challenges that we've been through here. But if you want to read about it, you have to go to my Twitter replies. And then everything is hidden but one of the 3 posts. So once you bring up the post that's not hidden, you can go to the one before it and the one after it. You can find those. But I just made a whole list of things because a whole bunch of people seemed like they didn't believe me. Well, they said they didn't believe me. And so I said, well, okay, it's okay that you don't believe me, but here's what actually happened. And every time I put food in the freezer, the power goes out. Like every time I try to pantry by having a bunch of frozen, pre-prepared stuff or whatever in the freezer, the power goes out. It's like clockwork. And every time the power goes out, it goes out for like 2 days. And every time the power goes out, everybody with electric stoves can't cook anything. So you can't cook your own food. The gas still works, but you cannot cook your own food. Then you have to find firewood and make a pit in the ground and put the oven rack over it if you want to be able to cook. So that's why I prefer the gas stoves. Besides the fact that I love the flame and the traditional, the link with traditional human culture, our culture of having a fireplace, right? That's just human culture of like pretty much all humans, all tribes, all peoples. But I appreciate the new technology, and I appreciate you asked that question because it made me look at it in a different way, the Uranian aspect of new technology. But I think it's important to stay connected with things that are real in the physical world, and to even reacquaint ourselves with them. Oh, Kristen, thank you so much. I've missed all of you too, but I really needed a break. I was like at zero energy, and that's why excuse me for a little bit. I'm posting less often, and I'm doing videos less often. And the reason why I'm doing the videos less often is because this internal battle that I've been having over. I have all these insights about really what the direction of my life is, like from the level of guidance of what I want to do as like I'm alive on this planet. I'm like, here's my opportunity to live, like to live it this way, right? And then I'm like, oh my God, like, but the structure I have is this and this, and so so much of my energy is going into all of that, and then I have to working out details that I just haven't had the energy. That's neat. Rick just talked about the Holy Spirit. That was one of my, oh, Yeah, Tom made a comment about YouTube. Tom, I what I do is I create a relationship with the technology. That would be the fourth point, but I didn't go into that in the first 15 minutes. I talked about um, creating a relationship with energy parameters with technology and viewing it as an elemental that's here to be in service to us as living human beings. So therefore, I don't view YouTube in the same way. And I love YouTube because YouTube has given me an incredible opportunity. And the technology, if you choose a conscious relationship, the technology interacts with you. It just does. But I'm not going to talk anymore about that because that's really woo woo. Um, you know, one of the first when I was awakening, one of the first. Well, anyway, there was a Holy Spirit experience in there. I'll just say that. Okay, and then again, Theron, thank you so much for the insight about the genie. That was just so amazing. That those giants with the snake legs represent genies, and that the genie is a representative of the giant with the snake legs. Oh my gosh. Oh, Oyster Girl said hi. Love you, girl. She's my moderator. She's probably back to whatever she was doing because it was a little while ago, but thanks for saying hi. All right, I know I didn't say hi to everybody, but I'm have read or will read them all. Holly, thanks for saying hi. I so appreciate your support and your engagement. Papa Joe, I really enjoy the perspectives. Thanks for the rose. I love getting roses. um, I'm so glad. That's just awesome. All right. You guys are a great community. I'm just so grateful for all of you and how you interact and everything. Okay, it's 2:42, friends. I'll see you all next time. God bless and look for my Substack. It'll be coming out late tonight, wee hours of the morning at the latest. Okay. See you. Bye.